Hi everyone, welcome to this video where we're going to hopefully make a start on restoring this 325 Sport. It's an E30, 1990, in a very, very rare colour. It's Calypso Red. And as you can see, I've stripped down quite a lot of the car already. So what I'm going to do before we go any further, I'm going to take you around the car, talk you through what we're going to be going through, basically what we're doing, what's come off, and so on. Okay, so as you can see in the back here, backlights are out. This is on an E30 325 Sport. They come with what's known as an M-Tech 2 kit. So the double boot spoiler has come off, the side panelings and side skirts along the sides, door trims, all of that has come off, and that's going to be obviously prepared, painted separately. But also, the reason why it's come off is I obviously wanted to have a look behind the panels and just make sure that there was no rust hiding. And if there was, to be able to deal with it. And thankfully, after 31 years, this car has held up really, really well. And we had no surprises whatsoever behind the panels. And those panels actually hold quite a lot of road dirt, so it can be a problem area for them. Okay, so coming along here now, and we've got the glass out here as well. So front and back screens are out, rear quarter or rear windows are out. It just makes the whole thing a lot easier to paint. Sunroof, as you can see, is just about to come out there as well, and everything's going to be it's just easier. You've got no horrible, tape lines around the rubbers and so on. Front end is off it here. All that grille is all plastic anyway, so that's fine. Front bumper must come off, and the lower valance is actually in fantastic condition, so we're delighted with that. And that is actually going to be painted, going back to its original state, which is going to be coated in stone chip, and it's going to be black, which looks lovely behind the front apron that goes on. The wheels, we've got 17-inch Alpina replica wheels that are on this car, and they are, to be honest with you, I think they're period correct for any E30 325 Sport. I had one of these about 15 or 16 years ago, and at the time, every E30 325 Sport had these wheels, and I think they look spot on it. So we're going to refurbish them and bring it back to its former glory that way. Okay, what have we got here? Okay, you'll see the interior here as well. The interior, or lack thereof, the interior has come out, full leather interior in this, and it's going to be getting treated to a nice coat of black paint, black leather paint that is, and all the interior is basically going to be jazzed up. Okay, so rear bumper to come off. Basically, it's just the two bumpers to come off, and I can then just go along. I've a bit of sanding done already, but I want to go along and obviously check my levels, make sure that any little dents or shopping trolley dents or anything like that, we try and get to those before we get priming. Then it's a case of prime it, flatten it all down, make sure everything is 100%, and then get ready to paint. So we're going to crack on now with some sanding. On this quarter panel, that's it. Sandra's got a mind of its own. There was tiny little shopping trolley dent on the side of it here that you couldn't see, but I could see it, so I wanted to get rid of it. So we have leveled this, and there is 2-pack primer on here. Now 2-pack filler primer, the very high build primer. Feeling it there now by hand, feels absolutely perfect. So what I want to do now is I just want to sand it down, make sure we can eyeball the side of the car, make sure that it is 100% level, and I know that we're good to continue. This isn't the only bit of primer that's going to be going on here. With this particular color, it requires an undercolor to be even all around, and this particular color, it's best with a medium kind of color gray. I'm probably going to go with something like this light gray here, or maybe a shade darker than it again, just to make sure that there's no see-through bits in the car, because this particular color Any of the reds are very, very difficult for coverage. So if you're not completely even under it, it's going to be quite visible. So, but this bit of primer here, this is just basically for checking our levels. So I'm gonna crack on now and sand it down. Right, so this is the lower apron of the M-Tech 2 kit, and what I'm doing here is going along with a 400 disc. I don't want to go too harsh with a sanding disc, but basically what I want to do is I want to get a nice smooth finish on it, but I also want to have a look to see for any nasty stone chips that have appeared over the years, and it'll expose them. Now anything that's deep I can fill, but to be honest with you, I don't really want to put any filler in it because I don't think it needs it. I just want to get it nice and smooth, and then I'm actually going to coat or spray it with 2-pack filler primer, and that'll give it a nice thick base, and it'll look like new, but it'll also protect it as well from from any further new stone chips. You'll see the rear light here is, aged, and rightly so. It's 31 years old. It's been through God knows how many car washes and so on. And one thing that would really let this car down when I put it back together is if the car was lovely and shiny, everything was beautiful, wheels were all done, tires were shiny, all that, and next thing I come along with this rear light and I put it in and it looks, somewhat out of place. So what I've started to do, and any of you that would have seen the 106 video would have seen what I've done with the, all the lights in that car. So I'm going to do that with this as well. I'm going to flatten it down, go through various different stages of sandpaper, taking it right the way up to fine sandpaper, and getting the scratches out of it. Then I'm going to lay some plastic primer on it, and then I'm going to put 2 coats of clear lacquer over the top of it, and that will completely transform it. So next job now with this is to sand all those scratches out of it. An 800 grit disc on the palm sander, and the palm sander is turned down quite low, okay? So what I'm gonna do here now is I'm gonna sand here, and I'm gonna try to get as many of the scratches out as I possibly can. Now we're gonna be super easy with this. Like I say, the sander's turned down quite a lot because, if you're too vigorous, you're gonna leave swirl marks in it, and we don't want that. And also as well, I don't want to sand away, like, this is an original BMW rear light, so I don't want to sand away any of its stamps or marks or numbering or anything like that. So just a nice simple sand like that, and then I can give my sander there. I can have a look at it, and I know that is not too bad. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to keep going, sand all this, and then to replicate putting clear lacquer on it, we're going to squirt some panel wipe on it to wet it, and obviously you'll be able to see then what it's potentially going to look like. Okay, so it's covered in dust. Give it a slight blow before we put this on. So this is just regular panel wipe, degreaser. I'm going to just wipe all the rubbish off it now first. I really love the transformation in these lights when you look at them done afterwards. So, okay, so actually what we'll do now is, just before we have a look at it wet, I want to have a look at it totally dry, okay? So you saw it a while ago, okay, when it was covered in scratches. Now you should be able to see just a matte finish on it, but you won't see any of the heavy scratching that was on there. So it's a complete matte finish, and that, when I stick clear lacquer down on it, we'll have it nice and clear. So let's just drop some panel wipe on it and wet it. And before it goes off, that's what we're going to be looking at once the lacquer goes on. it'll be, you know, it'll be a higher build on the lacquer. It'll look better, but that'll give you a general idea of what the end product is going to look like. Headlamp, surround, front grille, front end, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, this is probably one of the parts of the car that we won't be putting a machine on to get it ready. So obviously I'll be sanding it. And when I say sanding it, I'm scuffing it up, I'm scratching it, just giving it a key to add some paint to it because I don't want to mark it. This is plastic and it's going to be very, very easy to mark this. And obviously there's no major body of paint going on it, only a light coat of satin black on it just to refurbish it. So the best way to prepare it is with an ultra fine Scotch pad. Now I've just got half a Scotch pad here because there's no need for a full one. And what I want to do is I want to get into all the crevices that are on it and literally just scratch it up. And the reason why I got to scratch it up is, could I paint down on top of the way it is? Absolutely, but it would flake off. And if you ever see paint flaking off things, invariably, it's because it wasn't prepared properly. Either for whatever reason, either the wrong primer was used, or, you know, if there's a shiny surface underneath it, it's because it wasn't prepared properly, i.e. sanded or scratched. So this will give the surface a key and the paint will stick to it. Air needle scaler, new tool. I got this tool specifically for this job on these wheels. I've done similar wheels to these before, and sanding down individual spokes is a nightmare at the best of times. But unfortunately, these wheels are heavily oxidized, and I'll show you what I mean. So if we have a look, so you can see it here. So oxidization, bubbling on the aluminium. Road salts have got in under the lacquer and started corroding the aluminium underneath it. So the only way to cure that is to get it out, is to get it completely out of it. So we're going to get it completely out of it. And I was thinking, how am I going to do this? So got this tool, and I'm going to show you how it works. It's really, really noisy, but it really does do a good job, especially at the angle it's at. So we're going to try it here on a few spokes, and actually we'll do this spoke here now first. That's gone right down to the aluminium, taking all the oxidization out, and in literally a few seconds. And I'm quite happy with that, because that would have been an absolute nightmare trying to just do even one of those spokes by hand with a piece of sandpaper, or potentially something on a drill. The thing I found about using things on a drill before was putting it in there, putting the drill on. That's fine, but you could actually sometimes you could end up doing more damage, or there's always areas that you can't get to. But these things seem to, it's just weird. It's micro kind of chiseling action, and it just chips it away. So I'm going to crack on now. I'm going to keep going, get all the oxidization off there, and get it ready for priming. And we're stripped to the shell. Wings off, bonnets off, bumpers off, everything's off. Back to the shell for a number of reasons. Okay, one of the main reasons here is I want to do some undersealing here, and I want to give that a nice clean down before the wings go back on it. So if I was painting it with the wings on, it would be very, very difficult to get up into these panels to get, my underseal on. So having the wings off gives me great access here, but what it also does, it means I can paint the wings flat, and also with the doors, I can paint them flat and I can bury them in lacquer, which is good because, you know, there's less tendency, obviously, of the lacquer of moving or running if they're lying flat. It made sense to take the doors off as well because we have a couple of small little scabs here, and if I want to paint those as I'm going, then the door's in my way. So it made sense to get the doors off, and as well it'll just freshen up. I'm actually going to paint the door jambs now. I wasn't originally going to paint the door jambs, but I might as well, seeing as they're exposed now, and just, you know, keep everything nice and fresh. Okay, here we have the passenger's door, and I have sander in my hand, but the door is painted, and you're probably wondering, what are you going sanding? Okay, why I'm going sanding is I want to take out any little bits of dust or grit that have landed in it, while the lacquer was drying. Obviously, we're not in a spray booth. But also what I want to do here is I want to make it completely smooth, and I want a nice, consistent mirror finish all the way across the car. So how I do that is I get palm sander, turn down nice and low. I get a soft interface pad. This is a 10mm interface pad, so it's a soft foam pad. So when I go into the likes of a corner, it's not going to dig in or potentially damage the paint. And then the sanding disc that I'm using here is a 1500 grit disc, and that 1500 grit disc, we're going using it dry. Okay, you can use them wet, but I'm using it dry. Okay, so the objective is flatten it all down so it's completely matte and free of any little bits of dirt or dust that have landed in it. And once I get to that stage, then that'll allow me to be able to buff it back up and get the finish I'm looking for. So we're going to crack on now with it. Okay, so we're going to set the pressure regulator here. You don't want it too high, so that's pretty much okay. Now, as we're sanding here, you'll start to see, from sanding, you'll start to get to see the little round bits appearing, and you'll actually get to see the texture as well that's in the lacquer. And, you know, it's kind of orangey. It's known as orange peel, and I want to get rid of that. So I want a completely smooth matte finish, and once I have that, I know that I'm good to buff it up. So that's where we're going to keep going now until we get that. Here now I can see where there's something landed in it, and I'm just working it around that just to get that out of it, and that bit that was in it, bit of dust, dirt, whatever it is gone. Okay, so let's have a look and see how we're going here. Okay, now you can start to see that has flattened out quite a lot, and that's that matte finish that I'm looking for. And the orange peel is starting to go. As you can see, there's orange peel up here by the fold. That's because I haven't gone in that close yet, and there's some more down here as well. There's a little bit of dust there, small bit more here. I'm going to keep going now and get those out. I know that that's going to polish up absolutely beautiful. So up here now onto this section of the door, and even running my hand along it, and you can see bits of dust will actually, bits of dry dust now will get stuck in the dust that's in the lacquer. So you can see it there, all those little bits. So let's get after those. I'm happy with that. All the dust has gone out of it. I'm happy with the texture of it. The structure, maybe just a small bit more there up around the door handle. Yeah, okay. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to start the buffing process. This is a hard foam pad, and this is the cutting paste that I'm going to start with, made by a company called Roar. Excellent stuff. Okay, so what we're going to do is let's pour some of this onto the pad. Just applying it over where I want to go. right, that's one pass on that piece done. So just feeling it there, that's all right, feels okay. So no bumps or anything in it. So I know I've got the dust out. I know that that's not enough. So I know I got to go again. You saw the way I applied the paste the first time there. Sometimes I find it easier to do it this way too. So I put this on here and work it into it. These things are Velcro anyway, so they're easy to take off. But it allows me just to maybe apply it a bit more evenly, and maybe a bit thicker too if I need to. And again, the same process applies, just like the sanding. You got to be careful around the edges with this as well, because this is essentially cutting as well, just like the sanding is. So you could end up burning through. This polisher is, for those of you that recognize what a polisher looks like, in modern day terms, this polisher is fucking huge. But I actually have this polisher 15 or 16 years, potentially, I think. Yeah. So it's got sentimental value, so I'm not getting rid of it. People often say, wouldn't you get so heavy, wouldn't you get a lighter one? No. No, there's actually a product that I'm going to get just to double check that, whatever it is. Okay, so this product is known as a quality control product. It's actually quite good. So I'm now wondering if it's time to go on to the finer cutting stage with the next paste. So I don't know if the work that I've done has been enough to bring it to the next stage. Whereas if you apply this and wipe off the stuff that I've just put on, it'll give me an idea whether there's a shine on it or not, or if there's any areas that I need to go a bit heavier on. Yeah, that looks a-okay. So I know that this part is ready to go to the next stage. So instead of changing mop heads and going on to the next stage, we're going to continue up here now and do this section. So I'm going to start actually this on a slower speed, just because it's on a turn and there's lots of bends here. So I'd say that is good enough now to go on to the next stage as well. So going to change our mop head and change the paste as well. So if it wasn't good to go on to the next stage, it would be, when I'm wiping over it here, it would be quite dull in places. Now it's not completely 100% shiny, but that's okay, because the next stage of the polishing will bring it up to where I want to go. So no, that's nice and even, and I'm happy with that. This is a much softer pad, and this paste is less abrasive. So it's more of a polishing than a cutting paste. Pass number 2. Excellent. Okay, we will now go on with that panel. You're probably looking at the lower section of the door here going, why are you ignoring that? Well, there's a plastic panel to go on there, and it's part of the M-Tech 2 body kit that's on the car. So it's original kit. So absolutely no point in buffing that up, because it's going to be covered. That now to me looks good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get a nice cotton cloth for myself. I'm going to clean all this mess off, and then I'm going to put on the gloss on it, and we'll be able to have a look at our end product. Last step, speed gloss. This product is just brilliant. It's basically a trigger spray gloss, spray wax. Fantastic. So what I've done is cleaned off all the the spatters and bits of cutting paste that have been around there. What we're going to do now is we're just going to literally dust, light spray this all over panel. Even do the bottom one there. And the shirt off my back, we're going to use this to clean it. So it's important that you use something cotton. That looks done to me. Only just to continue on now and do the rest of the car. I'll let you guys look into this now, and you can see, and if you look really, really, really close at your screens, you might even see our great looking cameraman. The morning after, the night before, is it? Yeah, it is, I think. Okay, I've been fitting back some of the panels today. I painted the shell last night, and I put a few of the panels on. I'm just going to hang the door. We're going to put in the quarter window, and we're going to bang on some wheels as well. So this is the actual door we're going fitting is the door that I was polishing the last day that you guys saw. So I'm going to hang this now. Oh, God, the weight of these things. Okay, the handy thing in these hinges is there's only one bolt, top and bottom, and they just pop into those holes there, so. Nearly there. All right, this is one of these moments now where you could absolutely mangle all the lovely paintwork. There's nothing worse than when you're getting to this kind of stage, and especially fitting big panels, heavy panels like this back on, and obviously it's getting super fucking frustrating at times, but because the lacquer is so fresh, it's ridiculously easy to mark the paint, and you could potentially ruin the whole fucking thing in one go. Good, at least that's on there now anyway, and I'll know that I definitely need help to fit the other door. I can't remember. I did an E30 in January, and I remember putting the doors on that, and I don't remember them being that difficult. But anyway, maybe it's because there's a camera on me. Maybe that's why it's difficult. Okay, cool. I have that side trim. I'm actually going to put that on in a minute because we're going to mess around with some clips on that, and they're a bit painful, so we can do that in a minute. I'm going to keep going now, and seeing as we have an extra pair of hands, we're going to put in the quarter window here in the back. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the owner of the car, Jerome, and we have now christened Jerome Paul. And for those of you wondering who the fuck Paul is, anybody used to watching Wheeler Dealers will know that Ed always has some person that comes in to give him a hand, and his name is Paul.
Paul's supposed to say nothing.
Paul says absolutely nothing. Yeah, there's clips on the inside of those, and actually have them taken off because we have the roof lining down because we gave the car a new sunroof. Treated it to new sunroof. When we were taking this car to pieces, Jerome helped me with it, and Jerome is very methodical and good at whatever he's stripping. He always puts the nuts and bolts back in the holes where they should be, and normally I just rip things and there's fucking stuff everywhere. And I can tell you today, putting the car back together, when I was looking to put the stuff on it and all the nuts and bolts were in the holes where they're supposed to go, that is super. So I promised myself that I'm going to be more tidy like that. Do you know what I want to do? I want to see what the wheels look like on it. Yeah, seeing as they're painted. We spoke about this rack actually, didn't we, in the previous episode? And I can tell you, geez, I'm after using this a couple of times now since we filmed that one. And it is so handy for painting wheels. So you can, as you can see, they spin, but you've got plenty of room on there if you want to paint them with tires on or without tires on. And super cool. So what I've actually done with these is, these were such a fucking nightmare to paint. My God. I can tell you there's 19 spokes on them, and obviously you've got to do in and out of them, but they were heavily oxidized on every spoke. So you're, you know, sanding both sides on the wheels. I can tell you, we're well pissed off at it by the end. What's the saying? A watched pot never boiled. Jerome, will you check and see is the compressor on there, please? Whoop, about it. That's the fucking one. That's what we were waiting for. Now, one thing you don't want to do when you're doing things like that is be talking away here and have your finger there. Because it'll be fucking sore, I can tell you that much. The quickest way of doing this is if you took the valve out instead of having the valve in there. It's just slower to pump. Okay. So there's multi-fitment on these wheels, multi-hole fitment, and also with BMWs, you're dealing with studs going in, so you've got nothing really to rest it on, and there's a shim on these as well to make up the space on the hub. So it's kind of tricky. I don't know if I said this in the start of the video or not, well, how long this car has actually been parked up for. It's been in hibernation with 10 years. And it's now 31 years old, so it qualifies now for to be vintage. Is it it's vintage, or do they class it as classic?
Classic is it over 20 and vintage is... No, classic is over 25, no, vintage is over 30.
So vintage is over 30. So when it qualifies for vintage, it qualifies for two things actually. Well, the main thing is the cheaper tax bracket. So your 56 euros is your tax for the year, and obviously then you can get you know, a low mileage insurance policy on it as well. But you can also, believe it or not, get a ZV registration. So if you wanted to get a ZV registration over that, you could.
I would.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it suits me.
No. Always at 40 psi.
Is it?
Yeah, always. The others popped at 40 as well. Those wheels turned out really nice, actually. I must actually do the center caps, but when she's down on the ground now, it's going to look really, really good. Okay, what's left to do? So I've got door trim there. I've got a lower splitter to go on the front. I've got the back bumper. I've got the boot door. I've got all the glass, all the rubbers, and the interior. So lots to do. So I'm going to crack on now and try and get it finished. Just like that, and it's back together. But it wasn't just like that. There was a monumental amount of hours went in to getting this looking like it does right now from when you saw it last. As you saw, loads of panels going on, bits and pieces, and it's all the small stuff really that takes up so much time. But I'm really happy with it. It's absolutely beautiful. It turned out better than I expected. I'm delighted with the finish I put on it. It really is beautiful, and I really think that Calypso red that it comes in, it's such a rare color in a sport anyway. You know, and just to see that as it would have been in, you know, 1990. Okay, there's a couple of differences. You've got, you know, different wheels, the eyebrow, and the suspension's lowered. But realistically, that's how the car would have looked in 1990, and it's mad to, you know, to think, you know, that was a brand new car then, and that's how it would have come out of the showroom, and how beautiful they are when they're, you know, when they're fully gleaming and restored. Okay, we'll have a look around the car, and I can show you what I've done. So down along the side, not really a whole pile to tell you about it, only you saw the kit was off, painted the kit individually, and you know, it's very important that when you're doing a restoration like this, that you fully strip the car. There's no point in leaving the paneling on the doors, painting over it, you know, and you don't know what's behind it. The main objective of this was making sure that we're not going to have any surprises in years to come with any nasty rust or anything like that. So I know, and Jerome now knows, that this car is 100% sorted as far as rust is concerned, and it's going to live for many more years to come. Around the back here, looking absolutely beautiful, and really happy with that. So yeah, it's just really come together really nicely. So you've seen the seats, you saw me doing the seats. Let's have a look inside and let's have a look and see how they turned out. So here we have them, and they're quite matte at the moment, but with that dye, the minute wear comes into it and, you know, somebody sits in it, it really starts to form with a kind of nice satiny kind of look, and you know, it looks lovely. What else have I got to say, really? I guess that's about it. Only just, you know, I'm really happy it's back together, and it's really looking good. So I think now we're going to take it for one test drive on the road, make sure everything's okay, make sure we've got all our wheels tight, and you know, just make sure that it's driving okay before it gets collected.